We're talking to Dr. AAl-Hadid, and the topic is historical black colleges at the 21st century. And he's given us some information in reference to the organization and the development of these institutions. Let's pick up where we left off, Doctor.
Yeah.
We've got about 8 or 10 minutes to sort of bring all of this together.
Yes, sir. I wanted to focus on the myth of the historical black college. See, first of all, our audience need to understand these colleges were never black in the first place. Because, again, as Carter G. Woodson said in the Miseducation of the Negro, they were white colleges for black people. So the curriculum, by its very nature, its design, its architecture, its structure, was designed to make these people into imitation white people. That's what it was designed to do. That never happened, but they had, that type of mentality. So when we come to this idea of historically black, what do we mean by historically black college? Anything that is historical means it no longer exists. This earth was historically inhabited by dinosaurs. Where are the dinosaurs? You know what I mean? So this idea of going from predominantly Negro colleges to historically black colleges came as a legal designation because the idea was that now we are moving toward desegregation. And we're going to not only desegregate white schools, we're going to desegregate black schools. So some people took the position that it was illegal. It was against the United States Constitution for a faculty member or an administrator or a member of the Board of Trustees to stand up and say that Tennessee State, for example, is a black school, or Fisk is a black school. And so they use this idea of historically black as a way of playing with words, as a way of playing with legality, if you will. And so you remember those court cases that we were in at Tennessee State. We litigated this thing from 1968 to 2006, about 38 years of litigation. And part of that litigation was to deny the fact that Tennessee State University was a black school. And it wasn't until the Fordyce case in 1992, which says, no, it's not illegal for Tennessee State or any other HBCU, I'm using that advisedly, to declare that it's a black school, okay? And so the idea here is that, especially in the public sector, you don't have so much of a problem with your private schools because they have a little more control over their cultural identity and they have a little more control over their identity in general. But at these public schools, like the Grambling, the Florida A&M, the Tennessee State University, et cetera, the state governments are saying, these are the same state governments that created them, the same state governments that created them in an atmosphere of apartheid, the same state government that denied them the right to vote. Now they're saying, we're going to take all these public schools and make them generically one way. And of course, we know what they mean. They mean they want to take all public schools and make them predominantly white. And so a Tennessee State or Florida and them supposed to fall in lockstep with that. And at the same time, you have these predominantly white schools who are just providing all this financial aid and scholarships for black students. So now the HBCUs are not as attractive to black students because they can't get the same kind of financial support or the same kind of scholarships that they can get. For example, at Tennessee State University, we fight hard, beat the bushes for students. I mean, you take students right here in Nashville at schools like Martin Luther King Magnet or Hume Falk. These students trying to decide which school they're going to go to. And I'm mentioning these two because when you look in the Newsweek, you find these rated as among the top schools in the United States. I think Martin Luther King Magnet and Hume Falk was ranked like 24 and 25 in the nation. You know what I mean? So when you get these high-powered magnet schools or even your private schools like University School of Nashville or Innsworth, when these kids decide where they're going to go to school in Tennessee, if they're going to school in Tennessee and they live in Middle Tennessee, they're going to say, well, Tennessee State's the last place we want to go to. Because if they're African Americans, why? Because they can't get scholarships at Tennessee State. Why? Because they can't get adequate financial aid at Tennessee State. So those students end up driving 60 miles round trip to go to Middle Tennessee State University to get the same education that they would get at Tennessee State. Or they drive the other way going north, 60 miles round trip or so to go to Austin Peay. You follow what I'm saying? So if you're a minority, see, you can be a minority at Austin Peay at Middle Tennessee State, but you can't if you're black, be a minority at Tennessee State. You see how psychotic that is. You find socially psychotic, you know, I mean, it makes no sense. If you are a minority in the society, you are a minority. Wherever you are, whether you're at Tennessee State, Middle Tennessee State, Austin Peay. So the same minority scholarship should be available to African American students at Tennessee State University that they get at Austin Peay or at Middle Tennessee State University. So that's the hypocrisy. So see, the whole idea is really to run these schools out of business. You got a big lawsuit that's going on in Maryland now with the HBCUs at Maryland, like Bowie State, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, Morgan State, and Chapin. You know, they filed a lawsuit in a denomination of something like $4 billion. Basically asking for reparations against the fact that historically these HBCUs in Maryland were discriminated against. Now this thing has gone to the district federal court and has the possibility of going to the United States Supreme Court. And those of us who are either retirees from HBCUs or currently employed there or attending, we're watching the Maryland case, which is premised, again, as I said, on the Fordyce case, which says that, yes, HBCUs have the right to declare that they're a black school. It's not racist. It's not anti-white. It's not a white backlash, you know, anything like that. It is what it is. I mean, you pick cotton, you know, you're in chattel slavery, denied your birthrights, your human rights for 3 centuries, 300-some years. Then all of a sudden, you know, you say you're going to get 40 acres and mule, and you didn't get that, but you got 117 black colleges, and now they want to take those back. Want to renege on the so I see basically, Dr. Haney, I see HBCUs as reparations for slavery. We didn't get 40 acres and a mule. We got 117 black colleges. In my mind, that's reparation. But the people who are the board of trustees at the private HBCUs or the board of regents at the public HBCUs, they don't want to come to this conclusion. Because once they come to that conclusion, that means they got to do something to give these schools relief.
They've got to support those
they got to
institutions
support
as they're
them.
supporting other institutions
For
once they reach that
the
point.
crimes against humanity during the period of slavery. That's what happened.
That's reparation.
You commit acts of genocide against nations of people who were Mandinkas, who were Hausas, who were Woloffs, who were Sereres, who were Yorubas. Then all of a sudden now, you let them out of the penitentiary called slavery, and then you say all is fair in love and war, and you just turn them loose. 4 million people, and we're not even counting the ones that died in the Middle Passage, who died on the slave ships and then thrown overboard to the sharks. We're not even counting those who became shark food, you know what I mean? And so this is the worst crime against humanity probably in the history of the world, Dr. Haney. Then all of a sudden you create these colleges that are designed to humanize them, to integrate them into society, to assimilate them into the culture. Then all of a sudden you want to take them back
You decide not to
because
support them.
because they decided that as taxpayers and citizens, they should also be able to go to University of Tennessee. They should also be able to go to University of Memphis. And you say, oh no, what we're going to do, since you trying to invade our schools, we're going to destroy yours in the process. See, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And see, and you can see how all of this thing plays into a pattern because, you know, it all started with the Civil Rights Movement, right? People were demonstrating on Church Street and so forth. And so they said, well, and then they started desegregating University of Tennessee. Okay, we'll show you something. We're going to run the freeway through Jefferson Street, destroy your community, destroy your culture. You know what I'm saying? So it's not fair.
Dr. Al-Hadid, let me thank you for that information, and I'm sure that many people have an opportunity to understand exactly where these institutions stand today, whether they are referred to as historical black colleges or Negro colleges, or et cetera, that they are indeed special institutions that do need support, and not only are they worthy of support, but they are also required of support. You see, because, and I think because of the information you've given us, has opened up many eyes in reference to that. And let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week
and our
for another important and informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.